Chapter 2. Some Stuff, an Explanation. So, just how much junk is there? A car boot sale is, amongst many other things, a truly cathartic experience. However, before you can truly purge yourself of that original 12-inch single of Agadoo from your shelves, you first have to do some serious soul-searching. And this is especially true when selling off any old gadgets. It might seem simple on the surface, but that calculator you haven't used in 20 years got you through some tough exams in school. Are you really ready to part with it just yet? Gadgetry falls into two main categories once consigned to the loft, stroke shed, stroke cupboard under stairs, stroke parents' house, and they do keep asking when you're finally going to take it out of there, given that you did move out 14 years ago, so you better do something about that. These are 1. Stuff that may well prove useful in the future and is therefore worth keeping somewhere just far enough out of sight that it won't be forgotten. 2. Stuff that will absolutely, unequivocally, you'll stake your life on this one, never be used by you again ever. Now, this first one is tricky. In truth, we can never really know if something will prove useful in the future, or if indeed left alone long enough will fall into the realms of vintage tech and become worth thousands. Although the money will pale into insignificance compared to the amount of, well, I hate to say I told you so tokens that you will earn. Hold on to those tokens. They genuinely increase in value the longer you choose not to cash them in, and if used wisely, can bring abrupt victory in the face of a Force 9 argument. To be fair, the line, well, I hate to say I told you so, is an outright lie. You don't hate saying it, you flippin' love it. As well you should. And let's talk about that out-of-sight location that I mentioned. This is where you have to be honest. Are you about to put the item back into the same corner of the loft, blissfully aware that the next time you see this item will be when you're preparing for your next car boot sale? Be a little more ruthless. If you feel its value could genuinely increase over time, then it would be wise to invest in a nice plastic box in which to keep it. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, just enough to keep the dust, spiders and bats away. Your loft really is quite a scary place, isn't it? If it is electronic, then take it out, plug it in or insert some batteries, and check to see if it actually works. Now, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you that holding on to that mint condition hungry hippos will one day make you a millionaire. However, a simple check on any of the well-known online auction sites will tell you if something is worth holding onto. Beyond that, it really comes down to just how much space you have in your loft. Those same well-known online auction sites, who have not paid me to advertise so will not be getting a mention, advise that the average household has around £4,000 of unwanted stuff in it at any one time. That statistic is bound to get you excited, but be warned, just because you paid £150 for that child's car seat originally, don't think you're getting anywhere close to that back, not at least at a car boot sale. It's important to remember a bit of a cliche at this point. One man's junk is another man's treasure. You need to adopt a certain mindset when it comes to working in a car boot sale, and it's this. These people are paying me to clean my house. Just think about that. The stuff that you've brought with you has a personal value to you of 0. You don't want it anymore, and so are therefore looking to get rid of it. If you can make some money in the process, well, that's great. But ultimately, you must remember why you are there, to clear away stuff that you no longer want. Now, ascribing an actual value to a lot of your stuff is tricky, but you need to have a price in mind. As you'll discover later, merely asking people to make you an offer simply won't work. Now, the good news is that truly keen buyers know that the best deals are available first thing in the morning. They'll arrive early and are ready to deal, but that doesn't mean you need to accept their low offers. If you really feel strongly that a certain item should go for a certain price, then hold out for a while. If they recognize a good deal, they'll be back, and if not, you can always lower the price later in the day. Actually, that gives me a wonderful opportunity to tell a story which illustrates my point. First, permit me just a little digression. You see, there's nothing wrong with being a little cheeky. In fact, this can sometimes come across as downright flirtatious, but how you charm your own customers is entirely down to you. I had a couple of pairs of binoculars on sale. They actually belonged to my late father-in-law, and as I know he used to love my car boot stories, I felt very pleased to be able to perhaps give one of his items a story of their own. I thought it prudent to go online and see if they were actually worth something. One pair didn't really seem to show any value, but the other one had identical models for sale online for upwards of £15. As there was no time to put them up online, I decided to bring them with me and look at getting that sort of price for them. Now, as this is your first car boot tale, allow me to lay out the ground rules. In every exchange, our customer will be given a 3-letter code. The code will give a succinct overview of the customer in general and should serve to put you in the frame as well. At the end of the book is a glossary for all of these codes, unless you're also reading this on a digital device, in which case you can just mash your finger over it for a second and the explanation will become all too clear. Then again, it might not, in which case I apologise, but it just becomes a major burden to start working out a whole chart full of compatible devices and system requirements for what is, at its core, a book. So let's introduce our first special guest, known to you all as PFE, Pleasant 50s English.
Those are some nice binoculars you have there.
Thank you, that's very kind of you.
Have you had much interest in them?
Now, surely the only interest which I would register would be someone actually buying them, in which case they would no longer be here and we would not be having this conversation. Well, that's not strictly true, because I understand this question all too well. It's a negotiating tactic. If I've had no interest, then it would make sense for me to lower my prices in order to close a sale. However, this sort of psychological warfare only really works on much larger and expensive items, like cars and houses. When it comes to second-hand junk, it all feels just a little excessive. Still, as you'll quickly discover as you read this book, everyone loves to have a go. Well, to be honest, I've only just put them up for sale today. They belong to my late father-in-law, and he had 2 pairs, so I've kept one to give to my son, and the other pair is currently in your hands.
What sort of price are you looking for?
I was looking for £20. Now let's get some context. Yes, I know that there are people selling them online for £15. But you should also know that there are other people selling them for double that. Plus, and this is an important point, he won't have to pay anything for delivery, nor come home after work one evening to discover that they're now waiting for him at the post office depot, which he won't be able to get to until Saturday morning. What price inconvenience? I'd say about £5.
Oh, can you do any better?
Certainly I can. £30. Oh, you meant better for you. No, not yet, I'm afraid.
How about 15?
I'll tell you what, why don't we say 17? Sure, you maths wizards will have spotted that I have not attempted to meet him halfway at all, and you are now, in fact, close to ripping your headphones off your head in disgust. If so, 2 things. First, think about switching to decaf, and second, 50p. Do I really want to haggle over 50p? If I go for £18, he might go for it, but he might counter with 17. He also might counter with £17.50. But the fact is that at this level, people round up or round down to the nearest pound. Therefore, I'm either risking him walking away by asking too much, or I invest in his interest to the tune of 50p. That term invest is not an accident. These discounts are the means by which you effectively buy your sales. There's no sense in thinking of figures coming off your profit margin because, and I'm fairly sure the smart ones amongst you will have figured this out, you're not making a profit. Returning to PFE.
Deal.
Told you. And a little more space on the table becomes available for me to put my best stuff forward. You see, a perfectly pleasant exchange with a very nice man who walked away with a very nice pair of binoculars. I vaguely recall he was arrested 4 months later on 23 counts of voyeurism.